Hello, everybody. It's Jen here from the City of Minot Public Information Office. Today is day 3 of 3 in our virtual question and answer sessions for the 2025 proposed city budget. Today's topic is general government. We have a full house. Today, as has been all week, our goal is to connect our residents to department leadership. So we're just getting started on this happy Friday. There's lots of time to share this window with your friends and make sure that we fill up that comment section there. We'd love to be answering your questions. So be sure and invite everybody to come and join us here today. And of course, there's a lot of upcoming meetings with the City Council that are important to this budget discussion. So council contact information can be found on the website at minotnd.gov. You're welcome to engage with your elected leaders always. There's also on our website, you'll see a tab there that says building a budget. Everything that has brought us to this point in the budget process is located on that page. That includes priorities and directive from the council, presentations and videos from every department, and again, contact information for any questions that you may have. So I'm going to go ahead and toggle on all of our participants here today. If you guys want to mute on your side, I have you toggled on, then we can hear you. There we go. So we're just going to do some introductions here. Oh, I should have toggled you on in order, it looks like. Let's see how good I am here at pulling the right screen up. So just give us a wave when we introduce you here. So we have Minot City Manager Harold Stewart. We have Assistant City Manager Tom Joyce, Finance Director Dave Lakefield, City Assessor Ryan Kamrowski, Human Resources Director Lisa Junt, Minot International Airport Director Jen Ekman, City Attorney Steph Stahlheim, NDR and CDBG Administrator Chris Plank, Community Development Director Brian Billingsley, and the Minot Public Library Director Zaina Moya. So, like I said, full house today. So get your questions in. To start us off, I'm going to have our City Manager Harold Stewart just tell me what all these departments have in common when it comes to building a budget.
Yeah, so most of these departments are probably what we consider more kind of your behind the scenes workers. These aren't the individuals you're probably going to see out on the streets fixing like a water main break or responding to a 911 call or those kinds of things. These are the departments and the staff that are behind the scenes that provide the backup support to those that you see out more publicly. So a lot of these positions are funded through property tax or through transfers from the enterprise funds and those kinds of things. But at the end of the day, these are the staff working every day to make sure that a lot of those other staff can focus on what they do best, serving the public directly. So making sure that we're filling positions, paychecks are correct, we're procuring services or equipment or supplies and those kinds of things, that we're doing that in the most cost-effective way we can. The list goes on and on and on. So these are really kind of your behind-the-scene heroes that help support and make sure that those employees that are out more visible on a day-to-day direct interaction with citizens can focus on doing their jobs well.
Beautiful. So we're going to bring in Human Resources Director Lisa Junt. So personnel is, of course, an investment in every company. There's currently a $2.3 million that's built into the 2025 proposed budget, which would cover the largest personnel raises option, which would include market adjustments and step raises. In our city manager's proposed budget, he suggested a hybrid model, which would save $700,000 from that $2.3 million. But all the options are on the table. It is up to council. So we're going to have Lisa just talk us through the annual pay and classification plan.
Good afternoon, everybody. The City of Minot every year does do an annual salary survey just to make sure that we are competitive with other municipalities and counties. And essentially how that works is that we will send out information to those entities with regard to about 60 positions that we look at every year, making sure that those salary ranges are similar to what those other municipalities or counties are also dealing with. if the salary ranges are not competitive with those, we will make the grade adjustments, which would generally increase salary ranges for employees. This year, we did see a substantial change to a lot of our positions, especially within the public safety sector, and also with a lot of our utilities and street workers. So there's been a lot of change in what is being proposed for the annual budget. We recognize that in this past couple of years that there's been some substantial changes to salaries that are making a big budget increase. And that is the reason why we also looked at proposing the hybrid and some of the other changes or options that might bring those costs down. And we do recognize that this is a substantial increase that we would be looking at. In the past couple of years, we've seen significant changes. And as we move ahead next year, we are potentially looking at some restructuring, not only with our pay plan, but potentially with some of our structures and departments as well. So hopefully that will also make some changes in the budget. So
terrific. Harold, do you have any additions on the recommendation that is in your proposed budget? And talk a little about, I mean, this is only salaries. This doesn't get into insurance premiums at all.
That's correct. I mean, there's a lot more cost to having an employee on board, between benefits and taxes and all those kinds of things. So again, we were trying to be mindful of, we want to take care of our employees, make sure that they're making a sufficient wage that they can have a decent quality of life living in our community, but at the same time be mindful that, our salaries are paid for by the taxpayers, and we don't want to put an undue burden on them either. So I think the hybrid approach is a good approach that balances those two needs directly, and we look forward to the council conversation on that going forward. We could probably go through every department's budget, and the most significant operational cost to every budget is our people, our personnel. So they're our most important asset, and they're our biggest investment. And this is a way to try and balance that need and honor that, and take care of our employees in a positive way.
Terrific. Thank you. So we do have a couple of folks who are joining us from the road. Let me see if our assessor is still online here. I think he was having trouble with his audio, so we'll circle back. That's just fine. That's show business. So we're going to move on to our city attorney's office. Now, overall, I'm certainly making a generalization here, but I'm guessing that it's probably safe to say that having counsel in-house is a cost savings, but you and your team work with all departments. And so it's important to your budget to have that continuing education element so that you can specialize in all the different areas that the city serves.
Yeah, that's true. So we have 3 attorneys that are within our office. One of them, a lot of their time is spent taken up with our municipal court portfolio, because municipal court in the city of Minot meets Monday through Thursday every single morning. So that absorbs about 3 hours or so of his time just in court appearances every single week. And alongside that, we also advise all of our, is it 13 departments we have now? We get a lot of different questions from all of them. So, there's a great graphic that kind of shows our portfolio system. The city attorney would be me in blue on the left. Our public safety portfolio is currently held by Nick Schmitz, and our community development portfolio is held by Corbin Dickerson. And so we're kind of an initial legal point of contact for all of those individuals. And one thing that our continuing legal education budget allows us to do is that it allows us to garner continuing legal education credits, not only to maintain our licensure. We have to get 43, I believe it is, credits every 3 years in order to maintain our bar licenses in North Dakota. But it also allows us to receive specialized trainings in these different departments that we serve, which may not always be readily available from the Bar Association or League of Cities. Some of this stuff is really specific to a municipal practice, like some of our code enforcement issues, how you would go about demoing dangerous buildings, things of that nature. So it's nice to meet with colleagues on a national level and see how they're addressing these problems on a national front.
Perfect. Now, speaking of those specialized areas, we have a couple online here, specifically the airport and NDR and CDBG. You guys are pretty specific in the things that you do and where your funding comes from and what that can be used for. So we're going to start with the airport.
Yes.
This is Airport Director Jen Ekman. Thank you.
Yes, you're welcome.
So nothing at any airport is cheap by any means. We don't want it to be, but a lot of your funding is also not single source. So there's a lot of
Right.
maintenance in the near future on the airfield side. So if you can just talk about navigating those funding sources for those improvements.
Yeah, so the airport itself is funded in a variety of different mechanisms are provided through, we get federal funding through what's called an Airport Improvement Program, which is an FAA kind of led funding. And that helps offset the costs of some of our larger capital projects. In addition to that, we have something called passenger facility charges and also customer facility charges. And those are fees that you'll find on your ticketing fees and also on your car rentals. And those fees are specifically designated for certain projects that are approved by the FAA and by the airlines and also by the car rentals to help with our infrastructure and operational needs. In addition to that, we also collect, fees from concession sales, from our parking lots, from our tenants through their lease agreements. So these are all kind of, there's a variety of funding sources that we utilize. And through those different funding sources, we're able to capture and pay for our expenses.
Beautiful. Now, I know this wasn't a question that landed in the chat, but I know that you're prepared for it, so I'm not too scared to ask. In consulting fees, there was some chatter on social media about the airport consulting fees. You want to just talk us through your management company for the parking lots?
So we have an agreement with with the management company that handles all the transactions that occur in the parking lots, our paid parking lots, our short-term, long-term, and also our car rental lots. And that agreement is a kind of a sliding scale. So they collect all the funds, and that sliding scale allows for us to pay for them to maintain the entryway, exit lanes, the software, handle customer complaints when it comes to regards to our parking lot. They are paid a percentage of those collections, and so ends up being kind of a wash, but it's a sliding scale percentage. So if we collect a certain amount of dollars, it's maybe they get 40%, and it ranges from 40% up to as little as 10%, depending on where we are in that sliding scale of collections.
I appreciate the clarification. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll move into our NDR CDBG. Welcome, Administrator Chris Plank. Thank you for coming. So we added a federally funded program to your title last year in the entitlement program. Each program you facilitate has its own set of requirements. They're, how it meets residents' needs. But what they do have in common is that your department is federally funded all the way through. Just tell us a little about what you do.
Correct. So welcome, everybody. So just a little bit about the CDBG entitlement process. Every year, the City of Minot will receive an annual allocation. And what the three premises for CDB is to assist those of low to moderate income, to eliminate slight or blight areas, or urgent need. So what we're doing is we're looking for different projects and how can we use those allocation money to assist individuals who fall within that range. Yes, my department, I have 3 individuals, an accountant, as well as a federal compliance officer, and it is 100% funded by the federal grants. So there is no city budget for this. So a little update on some of the projects. Broadway Circle, you may have heard of some chatter of that over the years. That is a family homeless shelter as well as a 17-unit low to moderate income housing facility that's currently under construction. The anticipation date of that completion is October 24th. We are currently in the process of finding an organization who may be willing to run the facility and to work with the individuals there to provide them some services that they do need.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Hmm.
We're going to move into community development. Mr. Billingsley, welcome. Oh, let's go the other route.
Good afternoon.
Oh, hello. Thanks for being here. So just you have a proposed to add a commercial plan reviewer position. You've also proposed a fee that would cover that fee or cover that position in itself, and hopefully cut wait times for the consumer in the process. So if you just want to talk us through your plan there.
Certainly, the commercial plan reviewer is a position in our inspections department, and that position reviews all plans that come into the inspections department before a permit is issued. And the city had a full-time commercial plan reviewer during the oil boom era, and that position was laid off approximately in 2018. And staff, mostly the supervision staff, like our building official and our senior inspector, have been picking up most of those duties since 2018. We've experienced an increase in permits over the last few years, and it's reached the point now where they're spending more time doing the work of the commercial plan reviewer than the work that they're really getting paid for. So it's time for us to bring a commercial plan reviewer back to the city on a full-time basis. I was tasked with trying to find a way to fund this position without asking for an increase in property taxes. So I worked with my staff on developing some new fees that we will charge for customers. And the customers will pay 100% of that position. We hope to have that position hired here. We're going to take it to City Council in September and ask for a budget amendment and hopefully have somebody hired by the end of the year. So that way we can get them trained over the winter. That way they're ready to go in the spring when things get really busy. They'll be fully trained and ready to take on their duties.
Terrific. I understand that we have our assessor here back with us. I'm going to pull you up on the screen, Ryan. Nope. Just kidding. Now I have to find my spot back in my script here. I apologize. Again, show business. It's okay. So we're going to go back to Mr. Billingsley here, and we'll get Harold on the line as well. So our economic development administrator position is currently vacant. Some of those projects are in Brian's care. Some of those projects are in Harold's care. So one economic development initiative that came to fruition this year were our wayfinding signs. They were a result of a 2018 IEDC study, International Economic Development Council. If you could, gentlemen, could just talk us through the purpose of the wayfinding signs and what's coming up in the 2025 budget. Sorry about that, Brian. If you just want to hit your mute there.
Excuse me for that.
Beautiful. Gotcha.
No problem. The wayfinding signs they were installed last year, and there's 2 more phases to go. For next year's budget, I believe we're only going to fund the parking ramp signages, the parking signs on our downtown parking ramps. Some of the other stuff we're going to pass over and not fund for at least for next year. But the reason for the wayfinding signs is to help visitors find the popular destinations in our community. Wayfinding has been very popular throughout the country. Several communities have been installing these signs throughout the country. I vacationed in the Black Hills this summer, and they have those signs all over the place, and we use those signs to every destination that we visited this summer. The wayfinding really is not set up for people in Minot. It's set up for our visitors and also for our airmen. That we probably have hundreds of new airmen that get assigned to the Minot Air Base every year. They've never been to Minot before, and they need help getting around town. So I think it's great for the airmen and airwomen that are transferred to Minot and serve here, and also for our visitors as well.
Thanks, Brian. And I'll pick up as far as what's continuing on in the 2025 budget, our Economic Development Administrator position, which was also a recommendation out of that same IEDC report from several years ago. We created that based off of some of the findings from that report, but that has been vacant since the retirement of our previous holder of that position. And the city manager recommended budget did not include continuing to fund that position for 2025. So currently, Brian and I will be picking up the slack on that as we can with our other duties that we have in our positions, and relying more heavily on some of our community partners to help us deliver and address and pay attention to the economic development needs of our community going forward. So.
Would you like to just give us an update on the facade program as well, since I have you both here?
Sure. The facade program was implemented in 2021, I believe, and we've had 14 applications since that time. I think about 7 or 8 of those projects are wrapped up. There's a few under construction now and a few going through the approval process at this point. I did put in a request for some additional funding for the 2025 budget year. And at this point, I think I've had about 7 or 8 other people inquire there with interest in the program. So it's becoming a very popular program in our downtown, and it's having a very positive impact in our community and dressing up these buildings and making our downtown look more attractive.
Terrific. So our assessor has not been able to join us just yet. That's how it goes. So I have you gentlemen on the screen here. I'm going to just kind of put you on the hot spot, and I'm going to put our residents in the hot spot. We do have 15 people watching. Probably a few in this building, but, ask some questions about that, property taxes are a big topic, and I think these gentlemen are the ones that you want to speak to. They'll give it their best shot, even without our assessor here. So get those questions rolling. Do you want to weigh in there, Harold?
Sure. I think Dave gave a pretty good presentation on this a couple of times, both in the
Yes.
city manager recommended budget presentation as well as on our video earlier this week. With the demographic or the illustration of kind of the teeter-totter concept of the value of your home, the rate that's needed to generate a certain amount of revenue. At the end of the day, what we do is we determine the financial cost of operating government and all the services that we provide, police, fire, all those kinds of things that are typically funded in what we call the general fund through property taxes. So we determine that amount, and then we apply that towards what the assessed value of the properties are in the community, and that ultimately generates a rate, which we term the mill rate, and then that's what you see on your property tax bills of what your share is of receiving those governmental services across the community, whether you're residential or commercial or industrial. So in essence, that's what it's done. The assessor's office is tasked with helping determine fairly what the value of that property is. And they have software systems and comparisons based off of sale data and all kinds of other things that they look at, including potentially coming in and looking at your property specifically if you'll let them in, so that they can make sure that we're not overly determining the value of your property or under determining the value of your property. And more typically, rather than looking for ways to increase the value of your property, they're probably just looking for ways to make sure that they're not overvaluing your property. So those visits are important if the people participate in that. And more often than not, we usually see a reduction in the assessed value of a property when they come out and visit versus an increase. So in a nutshell, that's what it is. Dave, I don't know if you have anything else you want to add to that as we fill in for Ryan with his technical difficulties. So
The only thing I would add is that state law requires that they be within, a limit compared to the actual market value of the property. So they're doing their best guess based on their training and experience to be within that range as required by the law. And one of the questions that it brought up a number of times is, what is a mill? We keep hearing talk about a mill, and for us, we can really, it seems like second nature, but a mill is 0.001. So it's just a mechanism that we use to apply the needed property tax to each individual parcel. We go through the process of coming up with a true and full value. And then the assessed value is 50% of that. Residential's, then we take 9% of the assessed value, and commercial is 10%. To come up with the taxable value, and then we apply the mill rate to it to calculate the value or the tax bill for that individual property. So a lot of people, it kind of trips them up, but what is a mill? But it's just 0.001.
Terrific. Thank you. I'm going to switch gears. I'm going to bring Tom Joyce into the conversation here. Again, this isn't a question that's come up today, but it's come up on different city council meetings and such. The assistant city manager position was reintroduced this year. It has existed in Minot. It was here from 1986 to 1997. We brought it back this year. So welcome, Mr. Tom Joyce. Just kind of talk through. So Tom Joyce oversees the Public Works departments. There's a lot of planning that goes into every project that takes place at Public Works. So I'm going to start with you, Tom. Just talk about what your strategies are to bring Public Works under one umbrella.
Sure. So I'd kind of say I see my role as dual-hatted. So first and foremost, like you said, the city made a decision to parcel Public Works a bit. So we took the overall Public Works and created a utilities directorate and an operations directorate, who both report to me, as well as our city engineer. So really, for that group, it's just looking at the organizational transformation, making sure that we're working in an integrated manner. They were already doing a lot of that. We have super talented folks, but I'm bringing some other strategies and methodologies to the team, looking at process improvement, enhanced service delivery. And like I said the other day with the Public Works team, it's really about the biggest bang for the buck, and it's doing the best we can with what we have. So enhancing that service delivery, primarily focused on the Public Works team, but hopefully I'm touching all points, representing Harold and the city management and others. For example, sitting through the budget reviews with Harold and Dave, we would go through each department. And we were looking at some areas that we may have duplicative processes that we can again use our dollars that are budgeted to us more wisely, right? So how can we reduce some of those costs to the taxpayers? So again, that's what I'm looking at. For me personally, for everyone, I think it starts with people. So again, recruiting people is essential, but once we get them on the team, train them up, their professional development. We want folks to come to work and they're thriving. They enjoy being here. Again, neighbors serving neighbors. So we're working hard with our HR team, with Lisa's team, to develop workforce development, so we can continue to grow our staff so they can potentially reach out to other roles in the future. And again, hey, there you go. Neighbors serving neighbors with pride. So again, just experiences at other places and trying to bring some other insights to this great team.
Now, Harold, we have 10 on this call today. and I'm struggling to manage the 10 for the half hour I am. Like 15 department leaders who report directly to you, 450 staff that you're responsible for. What does having an assistant city manager mean to you?
Yeah, it was important, and it was something that we took our time with. You know, when I came in as a city manager, I had several of the council members on the council at that time and several department heads express concern that, you know, sometimes the city manager's office gets spread a little too thin, and maybe some areas of the organization don't get the time or the attention or the due diligence that they really need. And, you know, if you think about it from all the statistics that you just stated, you know, in the private sector, you know, it's not uncommon to have a multi-strated management team. And ultimately, that's what this is helping do. It's helping provide some more of that executive level management perspective to the organization. A lot of times we're looked to help make, you know, difficult decisions, making sure that we're running as efficiently, as effectively as we can. Sometimes asking the question, you know, just because we've always done it that way, does that mean that we need to continue to do it that way in the future? How can we change that? Just because we can do it, should we do it? You know, some of those kinds of things. And having that big picture perspective at the table in some of those meetings is important. And like everyone else, I get 24 hours a day and 7 days in a week. And that time goes quickly as I get pulled different directions. And so having an assistant city manager has added a great deal to the organization, in my opinion, and be able to provide some more of that executive leadership, help us to get to some projects and things that have been on the back burner that just haven't been able to get to because we just don't have the time and resources to do that. And helping us have an outside perspective into our organization of challenging us on how we've been doing business and do we need to rethink that from a different way, from a different lens, and those kinds of things. And that's really ultimately what we're pushing for through the organization. You know, if you look at the portfolio that Mr. Joyce has under him through the public works and the departments over there, they're a major portion of both the number of employees that report to him as well as the financial impacts that those departments have. And, you know, having someone at that level that can help lead and guide those conversations in that direction is important. And between the two of us, we can give that time and attention to the entire organization and make sure that we're thinking through that and taking the time to make sure that we're putting the best solutions forward and that those have been vetted and researched and well thought out as we move forward.
Terrific. Our friend, the assessor, has tried to sign in several times, so it would be a disservice if I didn't promote tax credits that are available that you could just stop by his office and have a chat with him. He's a wealth of knowledge, and they'll get you pointed in the right direction. So I appreciate all of you for logging in here. I'm going to pull everybody up on the screen, so be ready. Put on your best smiles. We don't have any questions in the chat. So I do have a short list of additional questions if you'd like. I'll leave it up to you guys. How you feeling? Happy Friday.
Fine.
I appreciate all of you being here. I'm going to set you free and let you accomplish a few extra things here on a Friday. So thank you very much for being here, and thank you for all you do. I'm going to recap for our watchers that will come in the future, because these are rewatched videos. I appreciate that. So take a look at our website. You'll be able to find all three of these Q&A virtual sessions on our website on that Building a Budget tab on our website. Plus, inside of there, you'll be linked to our 2025 budget playlist on YouTube, which is hours of information of all of these wonderful departments and all of their hard work. So you can find a lot of answers within that Building a Budget page. So take a look there. Also on Monday, keep in mind that 2025 budget schedule. Keep that handy. We'll be hearing from Council President Mark Janser on Monday. He'll be sharing his proposed 2025 budget, and that will be at City Council at 5:30. That's here at City Hall downtown, or right here on your favorite streaming platform. All of that will be streamed there as well. So until then, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you.